squad, Scooby, Scoob. Yeah. Give it up for Aaron, the violinist, loyal listener of Wax's podcast since the beginning. That was him with the virtuosic, amazing, forever incredible, undoubtedly pristine, amazing, fundamentally sound Wax's podcast jingle. He did that with his violins and cellos and oboes and, oboe's not really a stringed instrument that would work in that case, but I think I meant viola, maybe a double bass, and other various stringed instruments you learn about in elementary school. I don't even know if they learn about that in elementary school anymore, but when I was a kid, we had music class in elementary school. Everybody would learn to play the recorder. If you don't know what the recorder is, I'm not going to explain to you what the recorder is. It's an instrument that you blow into. It's a flute for little children, and you learn some of the basics of the musical world. You learn to play songs such as Hot Cross Buns, Mary Had a Little Lamb. I don't know what else they teach you. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Wait, isn't that the same song? Mary had a little lamb. No, it's Mary had a little lamb. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Isn't that like another song too? I don't know. If I sound like an idiot, if you listen to the podcast, you already know I usually sound like an idiot. But today, I feel even more so. I feel like I'm stoned right now, but I'm on zero drugs. And that is because I just ate an enormous plate of Kung Pao chicken from a really shitty Chinese restaurant. One of those ones where you go into and like if you sit down and touch the table, or if you touch the benches in the booth that I sat in, you know, everything's sticky. It's like the whole restaurant has never really been, like they might wipe stuff down here and there, but when they do wipe stuff down, it's just a rag, not a rag that contains any type of cleaning solution. So even after it dries, it's still sticky from whatever orange chicken sauce, Szechuan sauce, Kung Pao sauce, or even just general soy sauce or hot mustard sauce, sweet and sour sauce. Is it, what's the sauce you dip the egg roll in besides the hot mustard? Is that sweet and sour sauce? I don't know. General Tso's sauce. But I just got back from a place like that, and I'm immediately recording the podcast afterwards. If you saw me right now, I'm pretty much laying down in the studio. I'm leaning back so far in this chair. And you know what? I don't have anything productive, interesting, informative to say this week, really. I'm finished. Oh, fuck, man. I can't believe that I have this computer and I still get these errors in Pro Tools. Just trying to record a fucking podcast. I have the disc. I have the playback engine set at a large buffer size, or whatever the fuck you call it, and it's still giving me errors. What was I saying? Nothing important? All right, this week, what's going on? Yeah, I'm mixing my album. My album's almost, it's done. I'm just mixing it. I would put it out really, really soon, but I got to do some stuff before I get it out. I'm trying to put it out as properly as I can. So I'm in the process of making some merchandise, y'all. The last couple projects I put out, I always do like a little merchandise pack that's available for the fans. If you'd want one, this album's going to be no different. I'll have a little themed merchandise bundle that will be available for purchase when the album comes out. We'll see if you want it. I have no idea, but it'll be a limited edition. There's only so many I'm going to make, so it'll be kind of first come, first serve. What else is first come, first serve? I don't know. There's a limited amount. It's not rocket science, people. But some of these things take a while to make. There's a long lead time on some of these merchandise things, so I'm just waiting for that to get done, and then I'm going to put this fucking album out. Yeah, I'm actually working on my next album right now. I'm working on a couple other projects, a couple other songs. I got a new web series I'm shooting. More on that when it's nearer to the release date. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got going on this week. Shooting 3 music videos right now, 3 separate music videos. One of them is in the editing stage. The other is in, there's 2 that are in the editing stage of the video process right now, video making process. I'm just sounding really fucking boring today, huh? Why would you listen to this podcast when you can go to a middle school and listen to a monotone chemistry teacher give a speech about fucking what's that shit? Chlorophyll. What's it called when plants do the thing that they do? I don't know, man. Fuck. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, y'all. Why would you listen to this when you can listen to a monotone middle school chemistry teacher talk about photosynthesis? I don't know if I said chemistry because that really would be probably more under the biology department. Yeah, so my thoughts are just going every which way today. I don't have anything written down for this podcast. I'm just kind of rambling. I'm doing music videos. I'm going to have a bunch of those out soon. So, yeah, I'm in the process. A lot of times how it works when you're a musician or whatever, man, it's kind of a similar process for most people. You're in the studio, you record music, you finish recording it, you make some music videos, you put it all out, and then you tour. I'll probably be touring this winter. I'm working that out right now, so I'll probably be doing a United States tour later this year. Not sure what's up with any European stuff. Trying to go to Australia at some point. Not sure what's up with that either. I'm pretty much clueless when it comes to most things. That includes my own career, the way the world works, and various other things that are complicated. I pretty much just stick to myself. Yeah. This podcast is going nowhere fast, I'm just trying to keep a positive outlook these days, y'all. Some days I wake up and I just feel negative, This morning I woke up and I just felt depressed for no reason. And I've discovered that if I do some kind of physical exercise, it can actually really help to combat that feeling. Even if I just go jog for 10 minutes, it can kind of fight depression. So if you ever wake up depressed, do something like that. Don't go get drunk. Don't go eat yourself silly with your pancakes and powdered sugar. Do something good for your body. Go take a walk. Go ride your bike. Go take a jog. Something like that, I don't know. Or have kids. Go have kids so at least you'll have something to focus on beside yourself. Go do charity work, Help other people in some kind of way. That's what I would recommend. But, I'm just trying to keep a positive attitude. Once I got my little exercise in, I had a really good day. Doing a video shoot tomorrow, prepping for that. Had to get some new attire. Bought a couple new shirts. Yes. Went shopping. That's my least favorite part, by the way, of being a musician. My least favorite part about being a musician is when you shoot music videos or do anything where you tape yourself and put it out. You kind of feel like you got to get a new shirt, or else people are just gonna be like, "Yo, man, you wore that. What do you wear that shirt in every video? Or you wore that shirt in a video 3 years ago." And I just want to be like, "Yeah, I did. I know. I'm not a fashionable type of dude, but it's not really something. I'd rather just bite the bullet and go to the mall." So I spent a lot of time at the mall today. I did run into a really friendly person that worked at the mall that recognized me from my music videos. That was nice. But besides that, man, I don't enjoy being at the mall. I was talking to my friend Zoe a couple months back when that Kanye West song All Day came out. I'm not going to sing along to the song because it has a million N-words in it, but He basically says, how much do we ball all day? How much time do we spend at the mall all day? Now, that's a brag to him. He's bragging that he spends the entire day at the shopping mall. Now, to me, if I were to me, that just sounds like somebody said, how long did we spend at a concentration camp? All day. That's what that sounds like to me. I don't think spending all day at the mall is something to brag about. I think that sounds like something that sucks. Whenever I go in the mall and you have to walk through like a Macy's or Nordstrom or something and you smell that fucking perfume, and there are just people in there. Like, the only thing good about going to the mall is it reminds me that I'm blessed, because my nightmare is to work at the mall. My last real job, y'all, was actually at a retail store. It was the only time that I ever worked in retail. I worked at a high-end clothing shop that I had no business working at, and I fucking hated it. I appreciate it. I had my friend got me that job, and I really needed a job at the time, really, really badly. I needed money, so I appreciated having the job, and I appreciated my friend who was a manager at the store getting me a job, but it's probably one of my least favorite jobs I've ever had, working in the fucking mall. And when I walked through Macy's today, and there was all those people in there slinging perfume, I just thought to myself, man, I really am living the dream. So sometimes you got to do stuff like that, I guess. You got to witness. It sounds kind of fucked up, but you got to witness people that are less fortunate than yourself to realize how fortunate you are. And that's what I did today as I walked through the mall. I did get a shirt, though, for the video tomorrow. Shooting a video tomorrow. Video for a song. It sounds like, it's just I'm not going to tell you what it's about or what it is. You can find out when it comes out. I don't want you to pass any judgment on it until you see the video. But I am going to have some of my friends make cameos in the video, so that should be fun. And I enjoy doing music videos. Those are fun. I enjoy that is fun. Because it's fun. Kung Pao chicken, y'all. Kung Pao chicken put me to sleep today. I'm going to start, if you have a baby, it's crying and won't be quiet, just mix up some Kung Pao chicken and put it in its bottle, It's probably not healthy for the baby, but it's more healthy than putting alcohol or NyQuil or something in there, I'd imagine. Shut that little bastard up real quick, huh? Real quick. Whole squam of real bread, huh? You know what I found out yesterday? If you read the ingredients in a Mountain Dew, there's a word in the English language called brominated. Brominated vegetable oil is an ingredient in Mountain Dew. Like if you took the word dominated and took the D out and replaced it with a BR, brominated. That's a real word. I couldn't believe it. I was talking about it with my brother, and I know what you're thinking. Wow, what a great conversation to have with your brother. Sarcastically, you're thinking that. And we came to the conclusion that, it's not like somebody had some vegetable oil and then brominated it. Somebody had some vegetable oil and then did some shit to it that had never been done before. So they're like, what is this process called? And they just somehow invented the word brominated. And we think probably, considering this is an ingredient in Mountain Dew, it's probably like another better sounding, more scientific, more confusing to the consumer word for poison. Like they're like, we took some vegetable oil and we poisoned it. But we can't put poison on the Mountain Dew ingredient label. What's like a newfangled word for poison? Brominate. Brominated vegetable oil. God damn, the Kung Pao's even sticking to my esophagus and making me have to clear my throat, making my voice groggy. It's making my entire entire sense of being just generally lethargic. What's up with my vocabulary today? I feel like I'm using a lot of big words. Where are we at? We're at like 15 minutes? Wow. Man, I hope you have a shitty job, because that's the only way this podcast is going to be interesting is if you have a really... Like, you have to have something else that you're doing while you're listening to this that is worse than what you're listening to right now. So, unless you work at a fucking quarry and all you do all day is lift enormous rocks and take them from the bottom of the quarry to the top, and you're out there with your little iPhone with your earbuds connected, and you're listening to this as you carry those fucking 85-pound boulders up the equivalent of 50 flights of stairs. Unless you do that, you might as well hit stop and then hit delete. You know? I'm saying a lot too. It's really weird doing these podcasts. Like, you're really thinking about what the fuck is coming out of your mouth. Really thinking about what words you're using, what you're talking about. The most difficult thing about putting out this current podcast that I'm saying right now is going to be making a little label for it on the website. You know, every time I put out a podcast, it'll be like, podcast number 67, Wax discusses pizza, chemical engineering, and stadium food. This one, I don't have no, I mean, what the fuck am I going to say this is about? I guess I could say shopping malls. I don't like shopping malls, y'all. I do, however, like the food court at shopping malls. I had a shitload of free samples today, y'all. And I often say, this is something that was instilled in me by my father. My father is he comes from, like, my grandparents, his parents, were very thrifty. You know, by the time that they were old, they had a good amount of money in the bank, but they still lived in the same small house that my father grew up in. And they instilled that value onto my father, y'all. I didn't realize when I was a really young kid, like, a lot of the kids in my neighborhood always had, like, name brand skateboards, name brand clothing, and stuff like that. And my dad wasn't down with that until I was in, like, high school. Like, you know, where everything we got was from Kmart, and he didn't understand the point of the brand names. And it wasn't until I was much older. I'm thinking of a specific friend I had from high school, where her family, she was like the kind of little kid that would, like, be 5 years old and all her shit's from the Gap or something like that. And I didn't really realize. God damn it. I would have assumed when I was a little kid that maybe that's just because she begged her parents to buy her that shit, but I didn't realize that other people's parents just have different values. You know, her parents probably drove a BMW and shit like that. So it's more about, like, you got to appear like you're doing well to the world and appear like you're in a higher social status or something like that. But no, my dad didn't see it like that. He would say, why would you buy this pair of sneakers for 40 times as much as you could buy them if they didn't have that little name on the back? Now, granted, that's only partially true, because, you know, a lot of times the more expensive clothing doesn't fall apart as fast, but that's not always the case. But my point is, something that my dad instilled in me is that when somebody gives you some shit for free, you take it. And what I often say, and I believe this is for the most part true, I would eat anything if it was given if somebody gave it to me in the form of a free sample. Like, I wouldn't go to a store and buy fucking Pelican Beaks for a snack. But if I was walking through the mall food court and there was a guy giving out Pelican Beaks on an orange tray as he stood in front of Pelican Beak Depot or wherever he was working at, not only would I get one of his little paper cups full of beaks, I'd probably do that, go get what I had in the mall, and on the way out the mall, I would get yet another free sample. I had about 4 of them today. I had a sample of chicken from that, like the Cajun place. I had a sample of a chicken nugget from this place called Potato Corner. They were giving out samples of chicken and potato tots. I didn't even know which one I had actually got until I put it in my mouth. But that's the only thing I like about malls, y'all, the free samples. And I swear I would eat anything if you gave it to me for free in the form of a sample. I want to do, I guess they've never tried, maybe a marketing guru or just an extremely good salesman could stand out in front of his shop and give away samples, but not for free. Have you ever even heard of the concept of a non-free sample? Just like a cheap sample. Like a $1 sample, you know? Guess you don't really get that. Man, what an insightful podcast this is going to be. I know what you've been... I know you just love hearing me clear my throat a million times and talk about free samples at the mall. And you've been at your job. You've been in your car in traffic. You've been at your cubicle just wondering, what is a person I don't know think about shopping malls? And you know what? That question was just answered. Speaking of questions, let's do some questions and shout-outs, shall we? All right, let's get to this. Shout-outs. We got Patrick from Canada. Rain, the graphic designer in Seattle. That's R-E-I-N, Rain. Michael W. from North Haven, Maine. The oh-so-popular town of North Haven, Maine. I wonder what goes on up there, man. Maine is actually a beautiful state. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I went there once when I was younger, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. All right, we got Tommy, who recommends Death Grips. And I agree heavily with Tommy. I've actually, I learned about them from some people I went on tour with. I was late to the game on Death Grips, but since then I've listened to a bunch of their shit. And the guy that raps is fucking like it's that was my impression of the guy from Death Grips. He's scary as fuck sounding. Like he's the kind of dude who I wouldn't fuck with. But his music I would fuck with, and I share the recommendation with Tommy. I agree with the sentiment that is that recommendation. My Palestinian Canadian daddy. There's no name on that. That's just how they wanted to be shouted out. My Palestinian Canadian daddy. My being me, Wax. So Wax is Palestinian Canadian daddy. Man, being Palestinian and Canadian, that's like, you think of a Palestinian, you think they might be pretty ruthless. I know that's very, very stereotypical. I realize that. I don't know any Palestinians. I actually know a lot of Israelis. Maybe that's why I think that, because I've been around their subtle racism so much. But then my point is, you think of a Canadian, you think of the opposite. You think of like a super laid back, chill. You know, so I'd like to meet you, father. All right, we got Quentin Y, Lewis T, Nick O'Shea, Nikochet. I believe that was somebody's rap name. I can't remember. But shout out to you, Nick O'Shea. It's like Rick O'Shea, except if your name was Rick, it would be kind of like what... all right, I give up on making any that makes sense, what I was about to say. Big Mark C in Southeast Pennsylvania. Damn, dog. Southeast Pennsylvania. Isn't Philadelphia in Southeast Pennsylvania? I wonder if you're from that region. Robert at Good at Studios. We got Sean Q in Philly. Allison M. Joanna S. in Dublin. What's up, Joanna? Joanna. B. Willis, who is mad at me for shitting on his recommendation. This was a couple podcasts ago, y'all. B. Willis recommended me somebody on some, not like we usually do. Usually it's like a documentary or a song or an artist or an album or a YouTube video, something like that. But B. Willis recommended me a hot chick and sent me a link to Instagram. And lo and behold, I kind of shitted on his recommendation because this chick, I can't remember her name, while being beautiful, she was one of those hot girls with a nice ass. But the reason she had a nice ass is because she was one of them CrossFit looking chicks. Like, her ass, if you had touched it, probably wouldn't have been what you want an ass to feel like. Me personally, if I'm feeling a girl's butt, I want it to kind of bounce and jiggle and kind of be shaky, gelatinous. But I think that if you touch this girl's butt, it would be more like gripping. It would be like touching, like if you were rock climbing. You know what I mean? It would feel very stiff. You ever like, like if a really strong dude were to flex his arm, feel his bicep. That's what her butt would feel like. Her butt is like two biceps that are being strained when they contract, or whatever the fuck it's called. But sorry about that, B. Willis. Just wasn't for me. I'm not really into girls that are extremely fit. Like, I don't know why this is, but I think it's just because I prefer my females extremely feminine. Even though most chicks I know that are like just my friend are tend to be kind of maybe a little bit tomboyish. Maybe they're into the arts. Maybe they're into music, or they're comedians. Those are the kind of chicks I usually like to hang out with as friends. But the chicks that I'm attracted to in a sexual way, like for some strange reason, those chicks are usually just like, oh, they wear high heels. They got a purse. They got a fucking dress. Like, I just like... Damn it, got another error here in Pro Tools. But my point was that I like feminine, like super femininity. And for some reason, that doesn't go with like a six-pack to me. She could bring me a six-pack of beer, you know? But you know what I'm saying. Muscular definition is just not something I like too much in females. Like, it's cool if like they're in shape, but like if it's like if they could beat me in arm wrestling, which, let's be honest, is not that difficult to do. I'm probably eliminating 60% of women by making that statement, but I don't want a girl who can beat me in arm wrestling. I want a girl that like needs my help lifting something. You know what I mean? I want her to lift. I don't want her to be able to lift more than me in really any regard, whether it's fucking squats, curls, push-ups, or fucking bench presses. So I realize I'm eliminating a lot of women there because I'm not the strongest dude, but you get the point. All right, continuing on with shout-outs. We got Ed from Chicago. Trevor R. from Sacramento. We got my man Ryan T. We got Brian from Arnold, Maryland. And last, but certainly not least, we got Nate the Plate from Michigan. He's over there kicking it with his goons, who are a bunch of spoons. Hey! His wife the knife. You know what I'm saying? He's got his homie, fucking Noel the Bowl. Noel, like, it's an English bowl. Like spelled like Noel Gallagher from Oasis. You know what I mean? Noel the Bowl, y'all. He's got his friend fucking Dracula the Spatula. This is just like... I don't know why I do. Sometimes I just really embarrass myself. I hope like none of my friends are listening to this podcast. Because there's going to be like, man, you're dumb. You're really dumb. And I'm just going to be like, I'm not dumb. I'm Kung Pao Chicken affected. Okay. Yo, Alex from Barcelona here. First time emailing. I've managed to listen to every single episode of the podcast in 5 months. That means I've listened to the last 2 years of your life, and I've been able to see you evolve as a person. Not much, to be honest. It's been fun to listen to you bitching for 80 plus hours. Anyway, a recommendation, Hocus Pocus, a French rap group. They've got some really cool jazzy shit. Even if you don't understand the lyrics, it sounds really good. I'm going to check that out. I actually didn't get a chance to peep that yet, Alex. But you can bet your ass that I will check it out. Now a couple questions. I actually do usually check out the recommendations, by the way. Not necessarily if somebody's like, yo, check out this mixtape. Like, I'm not going to sit there for over an hour and listen to a mixtape you recommended. I'll listen to a song off it. If you recommend a documentary on Netflix, I probably actually will spend an hour on that because I watch documentaries anyway. That's the only information I get. The only new information I ever gain about life. Couple questions. Have you ever considered doing a show in Spain? The natives might not give a shit about you, but German tourists sure do. We have a fuck ton here. I would love to do a show in Spain, but it's kind of like what you said. You know, when you're doing these, when you're booking tours and booking shows, the main thing to consider is, do the local natives give a shit about you? Especially if I was going to do a show as far away as Spain where it's going to cost me some serious loot to get out there. And, you know, I think because of the nature of my music I've done and because of the fact that a lot of what people like about me is kind of like the lyrical choices and the sort of cleverness of some of the words. Because of that, people generally like my shit in English-speaking countries. You know, there's exceptions, of course, and a lot of people in places such as Germany speak English damn near fluently. So yeah, there's always exceptions to the rule, but I don't see myself doing a show in Spain, to be honest with you, man, unless the tides turn and the Spaniards start to love me. All right. Do you ever think of playing McGregor songs live? Would it be betraying the band? Because I can understand that. If you're not familiar with what he's talking about, McGregor is an old band that I was in many, many years ago. If you want to check out our music, you can find it on iTunes. We have an album called Beat Camp Tactics on there, and we have an album called Scatterbrain on there. I think they're from like 2001 or something like that. God damn, it sounds so long ago now. But no, I probably wouldn't play the songs live, not because I would feel it's like it's betraying the band, but more because not many people would know the songs. I kind of already have a lot of stuff that I have to cut out of the set anyway. I've kind of gained a lot of shit in my repertoire, especially considering next tour I'll even have an additional album. And I had my last album, then I had 2 mixtapes before that. Then I got me and EOM's album, me and my brother's album. I did an album with Dumb. So going back that far, maybe I would, but it'd be a rare audience member who would know the reference to that song. But dude, that's awesome that you know that music, man. That's cool. Thanks for digging and finding that stuff. There's definitely some interesting songs in that catalog. Finally, can you give a shout out to the friends Alicia and Elena? Thanks so much in advance. Well, Alicia and Elena, I will say that any girl that I've met named Alicia or Elena has been beautiful so far, so I'm going to assume the same about you, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Shout out to you. Sorry if this email is too long. Looking forward to the new mixtape. Much love. Thank you, Alex. The mixtape, I'm calling it an album. I don't even know what the fucking difference is, really. I guess one you pay for and one you don't, but it took me a while to make this, and it's costing me some money to make this. I'm paying for the dude to mix it. I'm paying to get it mastered. I'm definitely paying to make some of these music videos, so I'm going to charge. I'm going to charge for it so I don't have to fucking shut my studio down, so I can pay my rent, so I don't have to work at the godforsaken shopping mall, okay? So when you're paying your $10 for my new album, or I know a lot of you are going to get it for free anyway, and they have streaming, it'll be on Spotify and shit like that. So, but if you want to help me out, you can buy some merch. You can buy some, the album itself. I don't know why you would buy it. I'm going to make compact discs. I'm actually going to do vinyl this time, y'all. I'm going to make a limited edition vinyl. Probably make a couple 100 copies of that. Just make them first come, first serve, just like the merchandise packs. Maybe I'll even include them in the merchandise pack. I don't know if I'm going to do that because some people don't give a shit about vinyl. But I don't know why you'd buy a CD these days. I have my studio computer, I have my my laptop, and I even have my old studio computer, and none of them can even fucking play a CD. The only place I can still play a CD is my car, and it feels mad old. It feels old school now to play a CD. But if you really want to, I've talked about this on the podcast before, but dude, if you listen to a morning radio show, like Tim and Steve in the morning, like if you listen to that shit now, or like some of the syndicated ones like Ryan Seacrest and shit, like that shit just sounds like some old dated shit now, doesn't it? Like, who would still listen to that shit? And like the things they talk about and the things they joke about are so fucking lame. Like they're like, let's go to Marissa, our Hollywood correspondent. Yeah, hey Ryan, did you hear that? What happened to Justin Bieber today? I mean Justin Bieber, whatever. That was, you know what I'm saying? It's even people I would care even less about than Justin Bieber, and then they make their little jokes about him that are just lame. And then I talk shit, and I make even less funny joke to make fun of him. But let's go to the next question. This one's from Imran Q. Hey man, looking forward to your new album. This is a question for Davey Nathan if you ever have him on your podcast again. Unfortunately, David is out of town right now. Davey is in Israel, his native land. He's visiting his family for a few weeks, so I got the studio myself for a while. Been doing a lot of jerking off. No, I'm just kidding. I live in the UK, and I really badly want to move to the USA. I see why you'd be addressing this to Davey, because he is somebody that did that. Not from the UK, but I know what you mean. I have family in Idaho, and have visited other states of America, as well as Idaho, for months on end. There's nothing more I want than to move there, specifically Los Angeles. I know this is a difficult thing to do, but I was wondering if you have any advice on how, in the most literal sense, to move there. First of all, I'd recommend, Davey has a Twitter. I think it's just Davey Nathan. I think his Twitter is Davey Nathan. Let me see. Because he's the kind of dude it's pretty, if you ask him and say you were on the podcast, blah, 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 blah. Let me see if that's, in fact, his Twitter. I think it's just twitter.com/Davey Nathan. Yeah. DAVYNATHAN. If you tweet at Davey and get at him, he would give you his email if you want to specifically hit him up, but he won't be here for a while, so I couldn't have him on the podcast to answer your question. But I will say that Idaho, that's a random place to have family. That's kind of like it's probably not the greatest place in the United States. However, I've been to Boise several times. I've done a show there. I've done 2 shows in Boise, and that's actually a really cool city. It's as far as the United States is concerned, I noticed it was very, very heavy on the bicycling, on the cyclists, and it's also like got mad rivers and beautiful rocks and trees and shit. So I am mad at it, but I think Napoleon Dynamite was filmed in Idaho. If you want to get an idea of kind of like what the landscape and shit is all about up there. It's definitely moves a little slower over there. But if you want to move to Los Angeles, I could tell you that, did you say you didn't say like what you want to do over here, huh? I don't know if you're a musician or whatever, but I would recommend coming to visit first, making sure you want to live here. I'd be able to give you more advice if I had any idea what it's like to not be an American citizen and try to move here. I know it can be difficult for some people getting work visas and eventually getting green cards and things like that. But, hey, hit up Davey on Twitter. Maybe it'll help you out. All right. We got one from Noah S. Let me just start by saying that I love your music. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, dude. I'm an 18-year-old who's graduating from high school this Tuesday and have to decide what I have to do with my life. The way it looks, I have 2 options, and those are stay in Arizona, where I've lived for my whole life and don't want to leave, and get a full-time job and try to support myself. I could also move with my dad out of state. He says that he probably isn't going to stay here when our lease is up in August. I just was interested in your opinion on what I should do. Noah S. As is many this happens with a lot of questions I get here on the podcast. It's hard for me to give you advice with just this amount of information. I don't know what you want to do with your life. I don't know what kind of job you be getting at home. I don't know where out of state your dad is going. Like, is he where, out of state? That means he's moving anywhere else in the world besides Arizona. So that's hard for me to say. If he was moving to Mogadishu, I'd probably say stay there and get a job. If he was moving to New York City, I might say, hey, man, you're 18, go have a good experience in an interesting new place. So it's hard for me to say, man. I think that you got to just follow your heart, Follow your heart, Noah. Follow your heart. And like the man that you were named after. Wait, which one? Fucking build a large ship because the flood is coming. I don't know. Fuck. God damn it. Oh, wait, that wasn't an error. That's just some making a weird noise. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I can't make a clever joke about your name. Fuck it. I'm just going to give you some advice just off the top. I say go ahead and move out of state, man. If you and your dad get along. You're 18, try something new, man. You can always move back. And you can always move back really fast if you want. If you really, really hate where you go. It might be tough because if you just finished high school and then you move to a new place with your dad, at that age, a lot of the people that you're hanging out with are people that you met in high school. So I don't know where you would meet new people. I guess just go kick it at the bar, you're 18, so you can't go to the bar. Just go kick it at the local coffee shop, the local arcade, something like that. Or you could meet people through your work, or you could meet people on Tinder or Craigslist or whatever you want to do. I don't know, man. I'd have to know where your dad was moving, but I would say listen to your heart when it's calling for you. Listen to your heart. There's nothing else you can do. I don't know where you're going, and I don't know why. Listen to your heart before telling goodbye. I don't know what that is. That's some 80s song? I don't know who sang that song. All right, we got Trevor in Sacramento. Yo, Wax, I heard that you said you had Lee Intuition on your Drunk podcast and would love to hear it. You've got to put it out. I just saw him in San Francisco this weekend with Speak at the same place I saw you, DFD, and Breezy, the Brick and Mortar, and it was a great show. Damn, I'm glad they put on a good show. I actually met Speak really randomly a couple weeks ago at the YouTube space. We were both trying to get cleared to be able to use this facility in Los Angeles where if you have a certain amount of subscribers on YouTube, you can kind of go there and use their equipment and use their stages. I'm actually shooting a video there tomorrow, but I met Speak there. He was an interesting character, man. He's very outgoing and very funny. As far as that podcast with Intuition, I am gonna put it out. I actually was gonna put it out this week. I just haven't mixed it yet. It's got to be mixed down a little bit because it was me and Lee, and it was Davey too. So we got a keyboard and shit in there. But I got really sloppy, man. It's a little embarrassing. I'm gonna have to listen to it again, but I'm definitely gonna put it out. Maybe I'll just put it out like on some sneak shit and call it like the hidden episode or something. I don't know. But I will be putting that out soon for sure. And I wanted to thank you again for being the gateway to such great music. You led me to Intuition, and He through Knocksteady, Live, and Kinda Neat have introduced me to most of my entire recent music catalog for the last 6 years. Well, that's awesome, Trevor. I'm glad I was able to help. I'm glad Lee was able to help. Knocksteady was able to help. I'm glad to be a part of that, man. That's dope. All right, I just listened to the podcast where a listener from Poland wrote in about the N-word. Uh-oh. It's funny because I've been seeing a lot of discussion on Reddit about that very thing. My feeling is that it is a red herring that is used to distract us from real racism. Because people allow their feelings to get hurt over a word. When said by certain people, we tend to imagine that the problem is the word. But if the word never would have existed, nothing would have changed. Slavery and all the subsequent racism would have still happened. In my eyes, we can never move on and solve racism until that word is no longer an issue. Whether it's no longer an issue because nobody ever says or refers to it, no saying, quote, N-word, unquote, either. No rappers using it. No black youth saying it, 100% gone. Or it gets completely adopted into the language and is usable by everybody the way it is used in rap today. But having it be a privileged word only sets up divisions in our society and serves to create opportunities for conflict. Take it easy, brother. Trevor in Sacramento. That is an interesting email indeed, Trevor, and an interesting topic indeed. Now, I understand what you mean. I see what you mean by this thing being something that just creates an additional division in our country. But the fact is that divisions exist, you know? There's in every town, every state in the United States, and this is really not even just the United States thing. Usually it's kind of like across the world. It's like this neighborhoods and shit are made up of a race. You know what I mean? There's like the black neighborhood, the Hispanic neighborhood, the Asian neighborhood, the white neighborhood. And our society is so divided already. And a lot of times it's divided unfairly. So I think that that's kind of a natural thing. I grew up in a place where it was like that. And people still where I'm from, there were still white people that used the N-word with the hard R. You know what I mean? They would say that, you know, if you're a white person and you're in certain parts of the country especially, you might go into a store and hear people having that conversation. You might even go to a store and they say something directly to you that's like, yeah, look at those N-words over there. The N-words fall. Sorry about that. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. If you're in certain parts of the country, even still to this day, if you're white and you go into a place, you might fuck around and end up in a conversation where somebody's being openly racist against black people using that word. And they just throw it out there like you're just expected to agree with them or something like that. And you have a couple different choices. You could either just be like, nah, man, you should never use that word. What are you talking about? Or you can just ignore them, which is what I normally do. I'm just like, this dude's 60 years old. I'm not going to try to verbally knock some sense into him at this point. I'm just going to leave the store and go on with my business. That's usually what I end up doing. As far as the way that the word is used in rap music, man, it's, you know, I don't really have a problem with it. I don't really have a problem with it being something that people don't, you know, only black. I mean, if that's like a fraternal thing amongst people that are black, you know, they have an experience that only they share. You know, if that's the one thing that they can do that other people can't, while other people are having a lot of advantages in life that they don't get, doesn't really bother me that much. Like, I don't have a desire to say it, and I certainly don't get mad when black people I know say it. That's just kind of the way the world is, you know. It's not something that I think about too much. And what else did you say? I don't think it's a red herring used to distract us from real racism. I think it's just left over from racism. It's just something that used to be a negative word that people now use as a term of endearment. And there's only certain people that can use that word as a term of endearment because they share a certain experience, you know. It's an experience that not a lot of us live. And, you know, if you travel a lot with any black people, you can kind of see the differences in certain things that happen to them and the way people treat them than they treat white people. So it doesn't really bother me. What else did you say about having a privilege or a subdivision? In my eyes, we can never move on and solve racism until that word is no longer an issue. I mean, that part of what you're saying is probably true. The phrase "solve racism" is certainly a very complicated equation to solve. I think the N-word is a very, very small, very, very small part of the racial discussion in the United States, as far as I'm concerned. You might actually be right that it's a bigger deal than real racism. I will say this. I think that people that get instantly violent about people that say it, especially when it's said in the way that people just want to sing along to a song. Like if somebody's singing along to a song and they say that and then somebody reacts by like punching them, I don't think that solves anything. I think that that's dumb. I think that you should, instead of resorting to physical violence, I think you should try to teach somebody a lesson, you know? I think that's where it's especially complicated in my mind. The N-word is especially complicated when, you know, you got a hit song on the fucking radio and then a bunch of people come to your concert and then they're expected to be able to be fast enough when they're singing along to to censor themselves in certain parts. I mean, imagine if you went to like a Bone Thugs and Harmony or Twista concert and you knew all the words. Imagine like somebody trying to censor themselves. You'd have to be really fast to do that. So yeah, that's the only part when it gets tricky for me, is if it's in music and you know you're cool with people buying the album, coming to your show, but then when they sing along you get mad. And then you got an even more complicated thing, which is like, and I have a couple black friends that have talked about this. You know, you go to a Kanye West concert and he'll on stage, I've been to a show where he gives permission. He's like, hey, white people, you have temporary permission to use this word. Everybody say something, and something with the N-word in it. And then it's like, you'll see black people in the crowd, like, looking around, and, like, there's white people there that think that since Kanye West just told them they could say the N-word, they think what Kanye West says goes. But you know what? Kanye West he's not allowed to speak for everybody else that's there. You know what I mean? So that was a really complicated N-word situation I was once in. Of course, I didn't say it. I just don't say it. I don't even think about it that much as far as a political thing. I just, for my own safety, that's the main reason I don't use it, for my own personal safety, because I know how it is. All right, this is the last question. That says, yo, Wax. This is Jacques the Sock. I've been listening to you and Dumb's music since I saw you guys on Your Favorite Martian. Damn. That was Ray William Johnson's animated series. You guys are some of my favorite rappers. Thanks, man. But enough of that. My question is, did you have any cartoons you used to watch as a kid? Maybe some you still do. I was born in the 90s, so I had shows like Tom and Jerry, Hey Arnold, etc. Keep up the music, dude. Interesting that you would say I was born in the 90s, so I had Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry was around in like the 1930s. It was one of the first cartoons. But speaking of that, my favorite cartoons to watch as a kid was actually something that predated me as well, so I shouldn't even say that about you, because my favorite cartoons growing up was Looney Tunes. And that shit was made in like the 1950s, I believe. Bugs Bunny, Speedy Gonzales, the Roadrunner versus the Coyote. I believe Porky Pig was part of it. All of the arch nemesis of Bugs Bunny, such as Yosemite Sam. Who was the Elmer Fudd. Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, Bugs Bunny. Speedy Gonzales was by far my favorite. I loved Roadrunner and Coyote. Then they had like the modern version where they did the Tiny Toons. That was cool. I liked Rugrats and Doug. I liked what else did I like? I can't remember, man. When I was really, really young, they had Saturday morning cartoons, and I would watch those, but I can't remember what the cartoons were. I remember I liked Ren and Stimpy. I liked Beavis and Butthead. I liked, I liked The Simpsons. I think most people did. Still do. I think they still make new Simpsons episodes, right? But yeah, I'm all for the animation. I have no problem with real people. I have no problem with drawing people. You know what I did watch very, very recently, randomly, was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I thought that was a really interesting movie, especially watching it now as an adult, because I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. I never really thought of all the racial implications. Speaking of the last question and shit, the racial implications of that movie, because there was like the regular people and then there was the toons. And some people hated the tunes, and when they referred to them, they sounded like the way people refer to other races negatively. So that was interesting, Yeah. Yeah, so that was the last question. How deep are we into this podcast? Oh, that's pretty far. That's a pretty good time. Not bad. This isn't the highest quality podcast, y'all. This is episode 90. Got 10 more episodes till I make it to episode 100. I think when I get to 100, I'm going to do something special. What's that? If I did it every month, every week, that would be 2.5 months. Yeah, about 2.5 months. And if I use the intuition one, maybe it'll be like 2 months and one, whatever. Sometime around Halloween or so, maybe I'll have the 100th podcast. I don't know, though, because my sister's getting married a couple days before Halloween. And I'll probably be out there to kick it with her about-to-be husband and her kid, Chris. Shout out to you if you're hearing this. What's up, Chris? You shouldn't be listening to this, man. This isn't a good podcast, bro. But, yeah, so around Halloweenish time I'll probably be. That's not even the right kind of math. I'm being realistic. I know I'm not going to do one every week. I should you know what? I should start doing. I don't fucking know, man. I don't know. I'm done. Be safe out there.